Assalamu alaikum, hello and welcome to yet another episode of The Health Show Live, here only on the Islam channel with me, Alistair Greeno. The Health Show aims to cover all matters concerning your health and to keep you informed and healthy by discussing a range of topics. And we do encourage you at home to call in and talk to us about these very issues because we would really like to get your questions answered. As always, though, we must stress that should you suffer from any medical problems, it's always highly recommended that you contact your doctor or GP, as the Health Show gives you an alternative viewpoint to the health concern being discussed. So if you would like to speak to our experts, the number to call will be 020 7374 6423. But don't call just yet, as lines will be open later on in the show. And you can also email us at healthshow@islamchannel.tv. Now, we do receive a high volume of calls, so I'm afraid we're unable to put all of your calls through, so perhaps emailing me or emailing the show might be a better option. Now, today we're looking at hypnotherapy and talking to Malminder Gill, who is a Harley Street clinical hypnotherapist, NLP master coach, author, speaker, and a widely acclaimed hypnotherapy expert. Malminder is serious about pushing boundaries and developing new ideas around the clinical use of hypnotherapy. And recently, Holistic Therapist magazine named Malminder as a finalist for Best Practitioner of 2016, and we're delighted to have her on the show today. Hello, welcome.
Hello, Alistair.
Thank you for coming in. I've been really looking forward to this topic. But before we talk more to Malminder, which we will do in just a moment, let's see her in action at her clinic.
My name is Dillon. I'm an actor. I work primarily in television and theater in Los Angeles, New York, and back here in London, which is now my home. You know, I came to Malminder because so much of my time, like most people in life, was rushing around, running from one place to the next, and I felt I needed a little bit of time just to slow things down and really consider where I was and what I was doing with my life and what I wanted from my life, as opposed to the days, weeks, months just ticking by and rolling away unconsciously. Felt like sometimes I'd close my eyes and it was March, and the next thing I know I'd look up again and it was October. So what I've found with my time with Malminder and using the hypnosis, I find that I have a richer, deeper sleep, and I'm more aware and present in my day-to-day life. I would recommend to anyone who is thinking about undergoing a course of hypnotherapy to come to Malminder. I suspect most people will find what I've found is many benefits in their day-to-day life beyond what they would have expected. And it's something that there are techniques that I've learned from Malminder that I think I will carry on for the rest of my life. I really enjoy Malminder's style of therapy. She makes you feel very warm and welcome. The very first time I came in, we sat down, we talked for about an hour, not necessarily about anything specifically, just very generally about myself, my life. I was struck immediately from the first time in meeting her just what a relaxed and comfortable environment she creates. Even in our initial consultation, it felt less like a consultation and more like an open, free-flowing discussion. So that when we sat down and had our hypnotherapy session, I felt that I was working with someone who wasn't just seeing me in a professional capacity, but was also interested in my personal well-being. And it contributed to the relaxed, open feeling that I feel is so critical to a successful hypnotherapy session. I definitely feel less stress. I feel more conscious in my day-to-day life. My sleep has been better. I feel like my quality of life in my day-to-day life is much better. And to anyone who is thinking about coming, I would highly recommend it. I think everyone will find it worthwhile. I'm very happy I came to Malminder.
And Malminder is now here with us in the studio. Again, thank you for joining us. First of all, let's just take it back to the very beginning, just in case anybody doesn't know. What exactly is hypnotherapy?
Hypnotherapy is an absorbed, focused state of mind. That's basically it. Somebody who's focused and absorbed. That is hypnosis.
And people would come to you typically for hypnosis for what?
Typically, people would come for anxiety. That's huge. Relationship problems, depressive symptoms, some addictions, especially food addictions as well, sleeping problems. If it's going on upstairs in the mind, I can expect a phone call.
Well, there is this whole thing, isn't there, mind over matter sometimes. So how does it actually physically work, you know, in terms of, let's say, Harry, there, who we saw on the VT, if he or patient comes to see you, what's sort of going to happen?
Well, when they come to see me, in the first session is talk therapy, really to find out more about the issue, more about the problem, trying to find the thought structures that are holding negative stories going, because that's the thing that keeps people in their pattern of negativity. So it's really trying to find... And is that
irrespective of what their particular problem is?
Irrespective. So I might have a client that comes in and says, I have a problem speaking in public. And in the initial session, we will find out where has that started, you know, at what point in their life, what the history is, how it translates into other areas in their life too. So sometimes the symptom isn't the cause, or usually it isn't, I would say.
And what about sort of maybe mental health issues where there isn't necessarily a direct cause? It might be just something that's in their sort of DNA, if you like.
So normally people would have a problem actually that they identify with, that they want a solution to. And at that point, they would consider contacting a therapist because they notice that what they're going through, mentally or emotionally, is different from what they should be. So they will be aware of it.
And what will typically then happen at the session?
So following the first session, which is, you know, talk therapy, the second session is the actual hypnosis, where we go through a process of relaxation, first of all, and then all the different hypnotic techniques and interventions to help. And
how much is your patient aware of what's going on whilst this is taking place?
Well, my patients are fairly aware. I want them to stay, I would say, more on the wakeful side rather than the sleepy, deep side, because under the hypnotic state, I'm teaching them tools and techniques to help them manage their own state and their own thoughts, and I want them to stay fairly awake for that so that they can practice it as homework. I
was going to say, so they then go away and will practice and have homework as such, will they?
Yeah.
And what sort of things would they be doing typically when they go away from your session?
So it could be things like, well, the first thing is raising awareness of your own thoughts. So especially with anxiety and depressive symptoms, hours can go by before you realise that you're in a negative spiral. So the first thing is to recognise, oh, I've been sitting in a negative thought pattern for the last 5 or 10 minutes. I'm going to do something about it.
And how quick would someone see results?
Usually immediately, but when they'll see the result usually when they're in the situation where the problem occurs. So for public speaking, anxiety, you won't know until
the next
time you have to go up and talk,
And for people who come to you, obviously people have a lot of preconceptions. You know, they've seen maybe these entertainment shows on TV. Where they're made to do silly things and stuff like that. Where's the dividing line between therapy and entertainment?
Well, very clearly. Therapy is there to help you. Entertainment is there to make you laugh. So hypnotherapy is therapy under hypnosis.
And but coming back to the the entertainment side, is the process of hypnotizing someone, is that process fairly similar? It's just what happens afterwards that's different?
I would say the process isn't similar because they're not using therapeutic interventions. They're using suggestion. You will do this or you won't do that. But they're not really using a therapeutic intervention, so I'd say no.
A lot of people will be sceptical.
Yeah.
However, they'll try it because often they've tried many other things before. Do you need to be susceptible? Do you need to be someone who's likely to be hypnotized easily or not? I mean, however sceptical you are, could that make a difference to your ability of being helped?
Well, that's a great question. There's a range of studies proving, yes, you do need to be susceptible, and then there's a range of studies saying, no, you don't. But at least clients that come to see me, every single one of them does get hypnotized. It's just a case of finding out what's going to work for that person.
So some people, it is harder to hypnotize them.
It can be. So remember what hypnosis is: focused, absorbed state of mind. Now, you're doing that all the time without yourself realising it. When you read a book, you're focused and absorbed in the story. When you're at the cinema and you're watching a film, when you're watching TV, when you're playing a game, right? You're focused and you're absorbed. So that is my goal with the client, is to get them to be focused and absorbed in what I'm saying.
Now, there's a lot of people who will claim to be hypnotherapists. I presume it's like any other industry where there are people who are better at it, more qualified and more experienced than others. For somebody who's watching the show today, how should they be able to determine the best practitioner for them?
Sure. So my recommendation would be to go to the Complementary Natural Healthcare Council website. That's a UK established regulation authority which is supported by the government, designed to help raise awareness and protect the public. And you'll find a range of complementary therapists there that meet certain criteria.
So they've all been vetted?
Yeah, they've all been vetted,
right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So now, assuming someone's found the right therapist, they're quite excited about coming along to you. How many sessions would they typically need?
Well, it really depends on the breadth and depth of the issue, of course. But typically, anywhere between 2 and 5 sessions for the same issue. And this is why the first session is very important, because if in the discussion you're not able to elicit the root issue, then the subsequent hypnotherapy sessions might not be successful because you're targeting the wrong thing. So that's why the first session has to be good. Yeah.
And typically, how much would a session cost someone?
So prices across the country will range anywhere from, I would say, £75 a session upwards.
Okay, so it can be from that point.
Yeah.
And what about, you mentioned the government there and the fact that you can get some legitimacy in terms of hypnotherapists, so you know you're going to the right person. But what's the attitude of the NHS and the government towards this form of complementary medicine that often the NHS is seen to be progressive, again, depending on where you are, and sometimes not so. What's the general view about hypnosis?
So, like other complementary and holistic therapies, it's recognised by the NHS and the government, which is why it does come under the umbrella for the Complementary Natural Healthcare Council, which is supported by the government. So it's it is recognised alongside with other therapies like Reiki and Bowen technique and these other ones. And
are there any circumstances where you might be able to get your hypnotherapy through the NHS, or are we not quite at that stage yet?
We're not really at that stage at the moment. Not at the moment, I'm afraid. I mean, although, there are some patients in hospitals who do have hypnosis, but I believe they're privately paid.
Let's talk about some of your cases without obviously naming them, but we saw Harry there on the VT. What sort of success have you had? Talk us through some of the cases where people's lives maybe have been changed quite dramatically as a result of the hypnotherapy you've been able to give them.
Sure. So more recently, I've had a client who was unable to use public transport and therefore wasn't able to go to work due to severe anxiety. The tube, the bus, every time they even went next to the tube or the bus to go to work, they'd have a debilitating panic attack. And so they did what they could and worked from home for 3 months, which isn't suitable. So when they had hypnotherapy with me, I think they had like 4 sessions, and now they've returned to work, and that was huge, absolutely fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
And do they come back to you for sort of like top-up sessions periodically?
Not necessarily. Sometimes it happens. They might come back on an annual basis for 1 session just because they enjoy the experience. Or they might come back for a different issue.
Because I suppose if they suddenly realise that, that it helped that, maybe it might be able to help something else.
Yeah. And other things actually I've helped before. It was a client who kept failing at her driving test and then was told, if you don't pass, we're going to have to let you go at work, because driving was part of the job.
So immense stress involved in that.
Yeah.
What about cultural differences? Is there a difference between men and women, different ethnicities, where people come from in the world, their backgrounds and things?
Well, I tend to see a whole range of people, across the board, really, ethnicities, age groups, and actually a lot of people from the Middle East as well will fly over, or they'll fly me over.
I was going to say, you told me before that you've actually been flown over. Now that's a pretty strong accolade of your work, isn't it? That they'll fly you over.
So, it really varies across the board. It's from students, teenagers, children, seniors. Yeah.
Because the mind is an incredibly powerful thing, and obviously people believe in it some more than others with that. What would you say to the skeptics who say, actually, this is, to use a phrase, mumbo jumbo, this is just all not really real?
Well, I would say I don't blame you. The way it's been portrayed generally in the media, I don't blame you for thinking that. But at least the way I do hypnotherapy is evidence-based. I use research. I look at what has been working in the past across studies, and really take that approach to developing and designing each hypnotherapy session. And I'm often using interventions that I can use without putting the person under hypnosis. So for the skeptics, if you don't want to be hypnotized but you still want the result, that's fine. You can do it with your eyes open, standing up, walking around. That's
really
perfect. And I've done that, yeah.
No, you see, I've never thought of it in that sort of way.
Yeah.
How does one become a hypnotherapist in the first place? I mean, are there special colleges? I mean, what's the process? How did you get into it? So
there are special colleges and schools for hypnotherapy. So a quick search on the internet, you'll be able to find the schools there. But I'd recommend, first of all, going to, like I said, the Complementary Natural Healthcare Council for that sort of information to get an accredited school.
So again, it's important to get the right education as well as going to the right practitioner.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And for you, how did you get started? Because I'm thinking that it's one of those jobs that, as your experience grows, you can draw on so many more elements of your background. So getting started in the very beginning, that must be a little bit tougher.
It was and it wasn't, because I started off as a coach, actually, and I had hypnotherapy before for my fizzy drink addiction. Actually, I had a fizzy drink addiction, and 2 hypnotherapy sessions helped me with that. And as I was started off as a coach, helping people through their life issues, I thought, I'm reaching a block where I can't get through to the other person, and that's when I thought about hypnotherapy.
Well, there's nothing like a personal experience to encourage you to give something a go, is there?
Yeah.
And, you know, looking at this time of year, it's a new year, people are full of resolutions, and resolution does need resolve.
Yeah.
I presume that's something that hypnotherapy can help with.
Absolutely. So this time of year is, you know, for a lot of people, new year, new me. I'm going to get rid of that chocolate or biscuit or sweet tooth or, you know, binge eating or overeating, or I want to start enjoying exercise, you know, especially with health-related conditions. Yes.
And what about when we say mind over matter? There are sometimes physical things that are wrong with us, or aches and pains and things like that. Does hypnotherapy have a role in that at all?
Yes, it does. There's an impressive body of research backing hypnosis as being effective in pain control, pain management. But before, you know, calling your local hypnotherapist, you must first go to your doctor. Pain is there for a reason. It's your body's way of telling you something's not right. And so trying to just alleviate it through the power of the mind might not be the wisest thing to do.
It seems to be this incredible therapy that can resolve a whole host of different issues. What are the sort of issues that people have come to you for help with, and you said, actually, sorry, we can't really help with that? Or maybe it's no holds barred, maybe you can help with everything.
Well, not with everything. No. Not with everything. Yeah, you know, I'm a hypnotherapist, and people will think, you know, I'm a modern day wizard, so perhaps you can do anything, but that's not true. So I've had discussions with people who've asked me to hypnotize their partners or whatnot, to help erase memories of past affairs and wrongdoings.
Wow, we're going into a whole new realm of things.
New realm. And of course, no.
Yeah. And of course, there's all sorts of ethical issues as well. Because I know, especially culturally, you know, having privacy, being absolutely sure that this is confidential is very important to a lot of people, isn't it?
Yes. There has to be safety there, you know, to be able to freely talk about what you need to talk about, however embarrassing, shocking, however much you hate yourself for doing things. There has to be this safe environment, and that means what's discussed stays in the room. Absolutely, yeah.
And I'm sure, again, you're governed by all the ethics that a doctor would be and so on. We'll talk a little bit more in a while, but this is really, really fascinating. Thank you so much so far. But it is now time for a short break. But when we return, we'll be answering your questions. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to The Health Show, where our topic today is hypnotherapy. Now, so far, we've managed to cover a range of concerns and issues that people face and why someone may need to see a hypnotherapist. The good news is the phone lines are now open, and the number to call is 020 7374 6423, and you can also email us at healthshow@islamchannel.tv. Once again, we must stress that should you suffer from any medical problems, it's always highly recommended that you contact your GP or doctor, as the Health Show only gives you an alternative viewpoint to the health concern being discussed. Now, just before we take your calls, let's introduce our Ask the Pharmacist segment again, where our qualified pharmacist, Nadia Bukhari, gives advice on how to get the information you need from your local pharmacist regarding hypnotherapy.
Hi, it's Nadia, your pharmacist. What an interesting health topic we have today on the show. If you would like more information or advice on anything that's been discussed in today's episode, please do go and visit your local pharmacist. You do not need an appointment to see one. Pharmacists are highly trained healthcare professionals and play a key role in providing quality healthcare. We are experts in medicines and will use our clinical expertise together with our practical knowledge to advise patients on common problems such as coughs, colds, aches and pains, as well as healthy eating and stopping smoking. Pharmacists provide a range of services which you should be aware of. All pharmacies provide the following services: dispensing, repeat dispensing, disposal of unwanted or out-of-date medicines, advice on treatment of minor conditions, and healthy living. If you have a long-term condition and you have been prescribed a new medicine for the first time, you may want to ask your pharmacist for the new medicine service. The pharmacist will then explain everything you need to know about your new medicine, including how to take it and advise you about any common side effects. To ensure you're provided with the right medicine, including your non-prescription medicines, the pharmacist may ask you a range of questions. These may include: have you taken the medicine before? Who is the medicine for? What are the symptoms? How long have you had these symptoms? What action has already been taken? Are you taking any other medicine for this or any other conditions? You can talk to your pharmacist in confidence, even about the most personal symptoms, and you don't need to make an appointment. It is possible to walk into any community pharmacy and ask to speak with the pharmacist. Most pharmacies now have a private consultation area where you can discuss issues with pharmacy staff without being overheard. So, for any lifestyle advice and support, please do visit your pharmacist. We are always happy to help our patients.
Thank you very much again, Nadia. It's amazing how much information you can actually get from your pharmacist. So always maybe use that as a thought when you're looking to get some help. And again, we're joined by Malminder Gill, who is a hypnotherapist. We covered so many things in the first half, didn't we? We were talking at the break. Was there anything we missed out? And I think we've pretty well covered everything. So we're now ready and waiting for your calls. Please do call in. In the meantime, you know, when people are looking at maybe getting some hypnotherapy, is there any preparation or anything they need to think about before coming to a session?
I would say the main thing that anybody who's considering hypnotherapy is, the number one thing is, what do you want to get out of it? What are your outcomes? How do you want to walk? How do you want your mindset or your emotional mindset to be when you walk out? Because if you have a clear idea of what you're hoping to achieve, it'll be easier for your hypnotherapist to design the session.
Yeah, I guess if you don't really know what you want, it's a bit difficult to work with you.
No, sometimes it's a case of being so stuck in the problem that you're in, it's hard to think of what you want as a solution. That's why I say that.
Oh, okay. Well, we've got some calls already coming through. Okay. Clearly a very really exciting topic, I think, for a lot of people, and people are quite interested in finding out more. So we've got our first caller. Good afternoon. What would you like to ask Malminder?
Hi there. Good afternoon. My question is, I'm an insomniac. I'm a bit of an insomniac, so I don't really I struggle with like work life and all the stresses around me. What I wanted to find out really was if hypnotherapy, if the treatment actually helps, would it help me with my sleep?
And it's interesting you asked that question, because I'm sure that's quite a common request, isn't it? So what do you think?
Absolutely, yes. Hypnotherapy will help with insomnia. It really depends on the root of your insomnia, which you should discuss with your hypnotherapist. Sometimes it can be, racing thoughts all night, which prevent you from sleeping. So the first port of call would be to slow those thoughts down, help you to relax.
What about people who don't really know what's causing the insomnia? Nothing springs to mind, like racing thoughts or stress or anything like that. Are you able to help them maybe find out what it is, even if they don't know what it might be?
Yes, absolutely. This is all what happens in the first session, to dig around, because sometimes it is a case of, I have this problem, I don't know why I have it, there's no logical reason for me to have it. Perhaps we can figure it out. I mean, we are working with the subconscious here. So, there's a reason for it.
There's a lot going on
under the hood. So, yes, absolutely, yeah.
OK, well, I understand we've got another caller on the line as well. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Hi, I was just wondering how effective hypnosis is, and if we could have some statistics on it, and whether it actually works as a form of therapy.
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a good question.
Any statistics?
Yes, there are plenty of statistics. Different research for different conditions, really. So is there a particular condition that you wanted to find out more information on? Is there a particular condition that you're inquiring about?
Okay, I think we've just lost that call, unfortunately.
Okay.
So maybe
Sure.
what's the most effective, or what has the best track record in terms of hypnotherapy success?
Anxiety and stress-related issues, which manifest themselves in the form of not sleeping properly or having IBS, a very common one, or anxiety. So there's
and of course,
a lot
stress can lead to many physical problems as well, can't
things.
it?
So there is an impressive body of research backing the efficacy of hypnosis. But before, trying to put a statistic over the whole thing, you need to be very specific about the condition that you want to treat, and then you can research it online. PubMed would be the place to go if you want to find specific research for conditions that can be treated with hypnotherapy.
Fantastic.
Okay.
And again, stress is such a big problem for people today.
Yes,
I believe we have another caller. Good afternoon. What would you like to ask Malminder?
Hello.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Am I live speaking to the hypnotherapist?
You are. Where are you calling
Okay.
from today?
I'm speaking from Chiswick.
Okay.
I'd just like to know, do you help in stop smoking, but not stop smoking as in cigarettes, but cannabis? I have a lot of pains and stuff, and I've resorted to cannabis, and I don't want to do it, but it just helps the pain. And I know it's a mind over matter because I'm doing it over boredom and stuff. I started college and I realised that I smoke less. So there's got to be something about my brain that's actually making me just go into this horrible habit. And I'm a single mother. I really need some sort of help.
Well, thanks very much. You've been very brave for calling in today, so we really appreciate that.
Yeah.
And I'm sure this isn't the first time you've encountered this.
No, absolutely not. So it's a very common thing, especially with addiction to cigarettes, cannabis, something like this. It tends to be a coping mechanism, managing with the stresses of life through something that could initially give a sense of relief, a sense of escapism, or even some enjoyment, because life as it is right now is too hard to cope and manage with. So my advice would be that, yes, absolutely, you can be helped. And
what about dealing with the actual pain? Because I suspect our caller there is, maybe using cannabis to help deal with her pain.
Yeah.
Is there any way that hypnosis can, obviously you don't know what's causing the pain,
Sure.
but can it sometimes alleviate the physical side of pain?
Yes, it can. I mean, the first port of call is to go and seek medical advice from a doctor. But smoking cigarettes, or especially cannabis, that is the symptom. So the thing that needs to be looked at is what's going on under the hood. Perhaps developing other coping strategies, developing other ways to manage the stresses of life. And once that's put into place, and finding other ways to get enjoyment, the addiction to cannabis should start to...
But it's certainly very much a 21st century problem, isn't it, when we deal with stress? And thank you very much indeed to that caller for calling in. And please, we do encourage everyone to call in. There's a very good chance that the question you may have may be the exact same question as someone else. So not only are you going to possibly help yourself by getting an answer, but also many other viewers who want to get exactly the same type of advice. So please do keep those calls coming in. And remember, you can also email us as well. We would love to hear from you. And if we come to some of the things that are more challenging to treat, what would they be? What takes a little bit longer? What's a little bit more difficult for you?
Depression. Depression is, by far a very complicated condition to treat, especially major depressive disorder, it can
and I
go on
suppose
for
those things are quite deep-rooted, and they've usually have been going on for quite some period of time.
sometimes decades.
Yeah.
Sometimes decades, a whole lifetime of it. And, things are happening in the brain when you've been in a depressive state for an extended period of time. So something like that requires a real change.
But the good news is it can be treated, just be a little bit patient.
It can.
Yeah.
It requires patience, but also assistance from other therapies as well. not
and I
just
suspect a little bit of homework when you get back as well
more
afterwards.
homework.
Okay, we've got lots of people calling in, so thank you very much. Please keep on calling in. We'll get through as many as we possibly can. Good afternoon. You're through to Malminder. What would you like to ask? And if
Hello.
yeah, first of all, could you tell us...
afternoon.
Good afternoon. Could you tell us who you are, where you're from?
I'm just a sister
Okay,
from Gloucester.
okay. And what would you like to ask?
I have very bad rheumatoid arthritis.
And you want to know if hypnotherapy can help rheumatoid arthritis?
Yes, because I'm on a lot of painkillers and a lot of medicine, and I've been on it for 8 years now, and I've been very, very poorly with it.
Well, we talked a little bit earlier on about the physical pain as opposed to just emotional pain. So how good is hypnotherapy for this kind of pain?
For chronic pain like this, it has been shown through many studies to be particularly efficacious to help control your mind, using the pain gate theory, focusing on something else. For instance,
So
distracting
can it
yourself.
help with your threshold to pain?
Yes, absolutely. Threshold to pain and also distraction. You can use it. You need to find a practitioner, a hypnotherapist who specialises in chronic pain. It would be my advice.
And that's a really good piece of advice, is go to someone who's maybe got some form of experience in particularly the type of thing you're looking for. Because I know you deal mostly with anxiety and stress and things like that.
Yeah, because pain is modulated in the brain.
Yeah.
So, you can get assistance and help with it with chronic pain, but you must go to a specialist.
OK, let's go through to some more callers. Good afternoon. Where are you calling from this afternoon?
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi.
I'm calling from London.
Okay.
And my inquiry is regarding smoking. Okay. I'm not sure if you covered it earlier in the programme, sorry, because I kind of jumped in midway throughout the programme. But my issue with smoking is that I've been smoking for a good 20 years, give or take. And it's a horrible, terrible thing to say, but I do love it. I've got, silly reasons for loving it, which is it helps me through stress and also when you're socialising and having a good time or even relaxing. So I know it's a kind of contradiction, but it is an addiction at the end of the day. And my question is that I seem to think that I don't have willpower. And for somebody like me, would hypnosis actually work when I don't? It's not that I don't want to give it up. I've reached a point in my life, as you get older, you get wiser. So I know that health risks. I'm very aware of the health issues that, are attached to smoking. So that's the main reason why I want to give up. But my question again is, for someone who has zero willpower to give up, will hypnosis help?
OK, thanks very much indeed for your question. We're going to answer that in just one question. We're going to take one more question and ask you to do a double whammy if you can and answer two at the same time. Good afternoon. Where are you calling from? Hello? I'm afraid we've got a very poor line there. We can hardly hear you. We'll see if we can get someone to... Oh, we have another call. Hello, good afternoon.
Oh, hi. Mum, can you put the volume down? Oh, hi there.
Yeah, what would you like to ask Malminder?
Basically what it is I currently go through a lot of experience of like anxiety, and it's basically like depression and things like that, and my body feels very lethargic a lot of the times when getting up. It's very difficult, and I just don't really know what to do, because I know exercise is good and things like that, but it's just been very difficult for me to actually get up in the mornings, especially. So I tend to sleep quite a bit, and it's also affecting my work as well.
I'm sure this is something that Malminder's come across before, especially dealing with stress. And we talked earlier on about how stress can actually then lead to the physical challenges as well. So we've got basically two questions there. First of all, about smoking, and then about stress, anxiety, and when that then leads on to physical problems.
So to answer the smoking question, I would say, it's very typical for a lot of people to enjoy smoking, yet they want to give it up. Smoking serves a purpose, and that purpose is valid. It gives me stress relief. It's the only thing that I do for myself. So the first port of call would be to replace that with something else. What else can you do for yourself?
And that's quite related to the second caller,
Absolutely.
which was also about stress and anxiety, where his anxiety is manifesting itself in pain.
Well, yes, in pain, and then feeling lethargic, not being able to get up. So for this sort of thing, it would be, you know, figuring out what's triggering that. Is it stress? Is it anxiety? Is it depression? And it could be all three. You know, depression and anxiety are comorbid, generally speaking. So really to find out what it is that is stopping you from getting on with your day. But it does sound like depressive symptoms.
Well, we're going to try and get through a few more calls this afternoon in the last few minutes of our show. So please do call in. If you're thinking about it, now's the time. But coming back to this thing, which seems to be a fairly common theme, that, you know, the stress and anxiety and some of our mental state can actually result in physical problems.
Absolutely. Well, think about it. Everything that you do starts off with a thought. You know, you have to have the thought first before you drink a glass of water or before you put on clothes and go to work or anything that you do. So why would it be different for your body? You know?
So actually what we're doing by going to hypnotherapy, you're treating as much the cause as the symptom.
First, treating the cause. The symptom will disappear once the cause has gone. Treating it at a symptomatic level will generally result in a new symptom maybe developing if the cause hasn't been addressed sufficiently.
Now, I know people are calling in at the moment, but I just want to ask one more question before we hopefully take another caller before the end of the show. You talked a little bit about specialists within the field of hypnotherapy. What kind of variance in specialism would you typically find?
I would say that, you know, nearly all hypnotherapists can cover most major areas, anxiety, depression, addictions, but there are specialist hypnotherapists that just specialise in weight loss or chronic pain, although they offer the full range. So it's just that their level of experience, their research will be in that area.
And I can imagine you're rather busy at this time of year with everyone making resolutions about changing their lives and actually doing something, because lots of people seem to suffer for quite an extended period of time before they actually do something.
Yes, this is the thing. It's going back to what the ancient Greek philosophers say, right? Two drivers in life, a desire or a huge, whopping amount of pain. Then people will pull out their finger and do something about it. If it's a little bit of pain here and there, I'll deal with it one day, I'll deal with it one day. When the pain is unbearable.
Well, it's like everything, isn't it? To deal with something at the earlier stages, it's easier to deal with than if you leave it too late.
Absolutely.
And if you still haven't actually called in or you're thinking about it, you still can. But also don't forget that you can email us as well. So we'll repeat that email address before the end of the show. But feel free to email, and any inquiries we will pass on to Malminder as well. Now, you're actually based in London, but do people normally have to travel far to find a hypnotherapist? Are they available in most towns and cities?
Most major towns and cities, that there should be a hypnotherapist. But, you know, I travel across the country and the world to see clients, and also I offer hypnotherapy online via, Skype.
Yeah. So is this something you can do over Skype?
Yes, it is.
Really?
Absolutely, yes.
Wow.
Yes, it is, yeah.
So maybe a follow-up session or something like that can sometimes be done like that?
Done over Skype, yes. I will record the session usually, just in case the internet connection cuts out.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I mean, it's amazing how technology seems to allow things.
Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid to say that the lines are now closed. We can't take any more calls today, but please do email us if you haven't managed to get through today, and if you want any questions asked, because you know what, if you don't ask, you're never going to find out. So definitely ask, because there's some great information coming out of today. And stress is something that's been a fairly common thread for today's show.
Yeah.
What are the things that people can do to help themselves? Maybe on a very mild level. Obviously, going to a hypnotherapist is going to help them a good deal more. But are there so many tips that you've got that people can do even on a basic level to help them?
Yes, the first thing I would say is regulate your breathing. So a very simple breathing technique, breathing in through the nose while you mentally count to 7, and breathing out through the mouth while you mentally count to 11. That's something you can do right now.
Well, that's a great tip to finish our show. Thank you very much indeed, Malminder. Well, there you have it. Hypnotherapy, what a fascinating subject. And I'd like to thank our hypnotherapist, Malminder Gill, for being such an interesting guest on our show today and for sharing her techniques with us. Thank you for watching and for calling into the show. So many questions. It's great. And if you'd like any more information about the topics discussed on today's show, then please do email us at healthshow@islamchannel.tv. Now, join me next time when we're going to be talking about exercise. There's a good New Year's resolution, isn't it? All we can say for now is thank you very much indeed for watching. See you the same time next week. Assalamu alaikum. Bye for now.